Hello, Cookies here. This is a 25 workshop that I just got done timing, and I thought this would be like a good opportunity to just go over like the VOD and just talk about what we could have done better and just talk about my thought process through these keys. This is obviously doing Shadowlands pre-patch, and this is on my Resto Druid. I will have a post in the description as well going over my talent setup and Azerite choices and stuff like that, because I didn't show them at the beginning of the run. But standard start here, we just start DPSing, and the only thing we really need to watch out for in this first fight is vent jets. So once this is about 6 seconds, 5 seconds from going, you're going to see me jump out of cat form here. And I'm just going to start hotting up the entire group, being ready for vent jets. I make sure to get a hot on the tank, and I'm kind of in range of everyone at this point. And now I'm just going to apply a bunch of regrowths to everybody, just to make sure everyone's fully hotted up. Bark skin myself, Iron Bark the Hunter, and then we just go into spamming regrowths on pretty much anyone that's not full HP as we move along. And this is where, unfortunately, we make a fatal flaw of a mistake, is where I save the rogue and then I'm not really paying attention and I just jump back into the boss because I'm just like, okay, well, time to go back to DPSing the boss, and we jump right into a hammer. But luckily our group's doing enough damage to just skip the second vent jets, so we're all good. We end up getting a B-res and killing the boss, so everything's fine with that. But handling vent jets is really just being prepared for it, rather than, oh shit, vent jets is being cast and now I'm not ready and now I'm gonna apply my hots and now people die. So next we'll just skip over to, I guess the obelisk is something good to go over, so we'll jump in here and I'll kind of show you guys my thought process as we jump in here. So for the obelisk, it's really just who to dispel is honestly the hardest part, and then obviously keeping the tank alive for the first, I would say, 10 seconds is probably the hardest in this obelisk, because it does a lot of damage with the dots that tick on the tank, especially if you don't have your external up like Iron Bark, which I do not here. So here we just keep the tank fully hotted up. We have Spring Blossoms down, our Efflorescence, we have Life Bloom, we have Regrowth, we have Rejuve, and then we're just kind of spamming Regrowths into them whenever we feel necessary. And then other than that, I'm just spending my time dotting the ads. And because it's quaking, and because of the way that the ads work and the fear works and all that stuff, I usually don't go into melee except right there, which I get hit by the ads twice, which is fine. But I'll usually just stay in range and just kind of dot things up. And the only time I'm in cat form is at the very beginning, just to apply Rake and Rip to the mini boss. But other than that, it's really just dispel the tank as long as the little ads are alive, or dispel yourself if you get it. But if you and the tank get it, then probably dispelling the tank is the better choice, and then just making sure he's full health before you get feared. And then when there are no little ads up, you can start dispelling whichever DPS you think is going to do the most damage, essentially, or someone using cooldowns and stuff like that. But that usually requires some amount of communication. And this is a full PuG group, by the way. Okay, so we'll keep kind of moving along. So the thing to watch out on this boss is the dispellable tank debuff. A lot of people let it sit on too long, so I'm going to turn up my audio here a little bit, and you should hear a countdown timer from 5 to 0. So right here, this is when the tank is going to get the debuff or close to it, so I can just always be ready to just instant dispel. So I make sure I'm not in a global or anything. Here we're just finding the safe spot, which it's all the other players are standing in. I noticed that, so I move a little closer. And so now the thing we need to watch out for during this is quaking, which you can see this quaking timer down here at the bottom left of my screen. Luckily this one happens like as that phase is ending, but when we're all stacked up on the box like that, if quaking happens, we're not going to be prepared at all, and you'll see that actually happen later. So that's something to take into consideration when you're doing this boss fight during quaking weeks, is be ready to be in a position that's safe behind the box where you won't kill your whole group with quaking. So here we won't get, I noticed, so I'm like, okay, well, quaking, might happen this time. So this time we're okay, though, because quaking is not going to happen anytime for the duration that we're behind the box. Again, we're dispelling the tank because we have that countdown. Just redotting. And now we'll just heal a little bit. Then we're going to get a, I should have refreshed Rake there, but I actually pressed shred, which was bad, but that's okay. Here we dispel the tank instantly again. Now we're going to get in the safe spot. This is where you can see right here, quaking is potentially going to happen in 1 second, and we all go stack up to hit the boss in the safe spot, which is a mistake on my end. And then quaking happens, and it's like, oh, well, now what? So I just run back, and I know that I'm going to take a hit from the boss because the rogue's standing in this spot, so I can't run there. So I'm just like, okay, I'll take 1 hit from the boss, and then I'll kind of like duck around the corner and get into the safe spot. So that's what I do. The hunter, unfortunately, moves out here out of like just sheer panic. And unfortunately, he used a B-res on me on the first boss, so we can't res him. But luckily, the boss is low HP by now, so it's all good. And now you're just going to see us commit to the boss and finish the fight. But definitely something to keep in mind during quaking weeks is just positioning when you have to stack up for boss mechanics like that. And here we're just trying to beat the vent jets. That's why I'm not dispelling the tank, because I'm just like, well, let's just, you know, kill the boss before the vents happen. Unfortunately, the mage didn't trust us in beating it, but we ended up beating it, so it's all good. And here, nothing too special, so I'm just going to skip over all this stuff. Actually, I guess there is one thing, which is the dogs. When they use their little dot on people, you'll see them cast, what is it called? We'll see what it's called here. The junkyard dogs are going to cast flaming, it's called flaming refuse. And just, you can see who it's flying on, because it'll fly up in the air in an arc. I wonder if I can play that back. Let's, when we pull the dog right here, you'll see it happen. And you just basically want to, in higher keys, you want to just make sure you're like insta-dispelling people from that debuff, because it can do a lot of damage. In pre-patch, it's not doing very much damage, but it's just something to keep in mind. So like here, you'll see it arc up in the air, so now it's going on the mage, boom, insta-dispel the mage before he even takes damage from it. So that's just one thing to keep in mind. And that's kind of the similar mechanic to the dog in the boss fight, is you just want to be very, very quick on those dispels, and that's why I have a countdown enabled. So this next pull that we do up here, this pull's fine, but the second pull with the defense bots right here, this is like the challenging pull of fortified weeks usually. So you have the arcing zaps, which do an absolute truck ton of damage, and then we have the short out, which does even more damage to the whole group. So the first priority here is you don't want to dispel right away when these debuffs go out, the arcing zaps, and that's because these bots can apply arcing zap to the same person multiple times, which means one dispel will get rid of multiple debuffs. So like if I dispel myself right here instantly, there's a chance that I could just get another arcing zap on me. So I wait till the second one goes out. I technically should wait till this third one is fully out and I know who it's on, because it could have went on me again. But I usually just do it by the second one. But waiting till the second, it's not going to be, you know, a detriment. But you just want to be careful that you don't get multiple stacks of the debuff on you before you, like, you get one stack, you dispel, and then you get another stack on you, and then it just, you essentially didn't dispel yourself. I mean, you got rid of one debuff still, but you could have got rid of 2 with that dispel. It just makes it a lot easier. And then for the short out here, all we're doing is we're just making sure that everyone has a hot on them. The hunter's the only person that doesn't, which is where I'm making a mistake. But the other thing that I'm making a mistake on is I don't have efflorescence down, which I should 100% have down either here with me in the range or with the melee. And then we are just spam regrowthing the players who have the short out on, or not the short out, the debuff. I completely forgot the name of it now all of a sudden, but you want to be dispelling them, or not dispelling them, but you want to make sure that you are healing through this. And by now I could have dispelled an extra one, so I should have done that before casting Trank. But it's essentially apply hots to the players with the debuff, and then just channel Trank or whatever, you know, major healing cooldown you have, and then you're done. Like here, I don't have to worry about being nature locked or anything, because there's not really any more damage that's going to happen as long as we beat the second short out. The second short out is where there could be like much bigger problems. So you usually just want to try to beat the second short out. But same idea. Priority target on the people with the actual debuff. And here we'll just skip ahead to the boss. This actually is awful. We end up dying like multiple times because the tank died to the tank buster like right as we went in. Unfortunately, he got stuck in like all the assists on the floor. So this cost us some time, but we ended up timing the key still. Nothing too special about this guy. So in this fight, it's really just do damage because there's not going to be much healing to do in this fight until the little turret spawns, and even then, people should be stunning it. So it's really just a matter of you only take damage in this fight if you're making mistakes. So we are just keeping dots on the boss and bleeds on the boss at all times. That's like our biggest priority. And then when we have nothing else to do, we're just doing damage in cat form. Refresh our rake, and this is pretty much just, again, this is just a DPS boss, so. I think there is a part where I get hit by the vent jets here in a second. Or whatever it's called, the hidden flame cannons. I think it might be, yeah, it's this one. So I run right through it. I was preoccupied with something. I like looked away from my screen for half a second. But it's pretty easy to deal with if only one person gets hit by it. It's basically just life bloom them and then just apply all your hots and press regrowth as many times as you might need to. And then next we'll go to the last boss. And there's nothing too special about phase 1, so I'm not going to rewind it or anything. It's basically just keep the people with Giga Zap healed and topped off. Usually only one person will have it at a time, so you could just apply Life Bloom to them and then all your hots, and then you can just go back to DPSing. This is another fight just because of like the amount of space we don't have access to. I'm just staying in range. I'm not going in cat form at all, and I'm just reapplying dots and just like solar wrathing the boss when I have nothing better to do. But we have plenty of time to time this key. We have 6 minutes left. So I'm not worried about like doing extra damage at this point to the boss. I just want to make sure it goes as smoothly as possible. Takeoff doesn't do pretty much any damage to the group, so you don't have to worry about it too much. It's mostly just healing the Giga Zaps. And then when we go into phase 2 here, we're doing damage as long as we can. And I usually like to stand in these little corner areas here and just leave a little bit of room to my, closest to the wall, so that if I get a recalibrate targeted on me, one of the swirlies, I can just kind of duck into this corner, and it just makes the space nice and tight to bait these away from the rest of my group. And then here we have the grapple, which we want to just hot everybody up for this, and because we're a Resto Druid, it's pretty easy to deal with. The only unfortunate thing is the Hunter is literally on the complete opposite side of the room, so there's just no way I can heal him. So understanding that, I'm not going to like run after him and try to heal him. I'm just going to let him die and we'll just B-res him. Because, I mean, that's just unfortunately mispositioning on his part. I guess the only thing I could have done better was like be out there when the grapple started. Just I should have like checked his position then and noticed that he was out of range. But I just figured he was out of range because I was in melee, so I like scooted back and tried to heal him, and then I noticed like, oh, he's literally on like the entrance of the room. Again, just doing damage. We get hit by one of those because we don't notice where it's going. But really this boss fight is just healing the grapples and then just helping bait these into good spots, or at least not getting hit by them. And then again, the Giga Zaps are like the only real damaging factor in this fight. So keep people with the dots hotted and you'll be good to go. And that's it. And then we time the key. So that is the Mechagon workshop. Hopefully that helps. And I'll be doing a lot more of these, especially as we go into Shadowlands with all the new dungeons and whatnot. So thank you for watching and have a good one.